look at this room, what an honor to be here, y'all. And I'm especially honored because my parents are in the room, and my daughter and my grandbaby, who I think probably is the youngest junior subscribing life NAACP member. Well, this is definitely my kind of room. This room understands the work, the real work. Not just talking about it, but doing it. Showing up. Getting it done. That's how I was raised. And that's how I try to live. And I believe that leadership is action. And that's what I want to talk to y'all about today. I joined the NAACP right here in Jacksonville because of that very reason. This organization has always been about the work, about getting the job done for the people of Jacksonville and the people of Arkansas and the people of this great nation. Doing what's required, stepping in when it matters. And the more time I've spent here, the more I've realized that this room is full of a whole bunch of people who fill gaps. Right? We fill in the gaps. And people who don't wait for somebody else to do the job when there's a job needing to be done. People who see what's missing and then they fill in the holes and decide to do something about it, to take action. I've experienced that here, people working together, learning from each other, leaning on each other, black, white, different backgrounds, different sets of experiences, all coming together around the work. Leadership isn't about who gets the credit. Leadership is about whether or not the job gets done, whether or not the gaps get filled. And that mindset didn't start with me. That's definitely who I am. But it really started with somebody who's in the back of the room there, my mom, Connie Hurst. And if you know her, you know this is true about her. She's the first person to fill a gap when there's a gap that needs to be filled. You need supper? She's got something on the stove or in the freezer. You need to pull off an event? And she can get that done. Something falls through the cracks? She's the person that you call to fill in the hole. No announcement about it, no big accolades about it, just doing the work without hesitation. And that came from a lifetime of doing what was required, no matter the cost. She stood by my daddy as he built his career, and she worked hard. The kind of hard where everybody depends on you and nobody's paying any attention. The kind of hard that doesn't ever get recognized but holds everything together. Y'all know these women, don't you? Y'all are these women, right? Yeah. And then, not only was she supporting my daddy, but she stepped out on her own. And she became one of the top salespeople with Modern Women of America in the country. My mama. That takes discipline, and it takes resilience, and it takes hard work. Go on. But then in 1986, our world shifted, and my daddy got a promotion, and we moved to Arkansas. I was a 10th grader. And she had to walk away from the business that she had built, all those clients that she'd been serving. But she didn't complain. She wasn't bitter about it. She just stepped in and did what needed to be done next. And then we built again. That's leadership. That's resilience. That's a mother. Amen.
Amen.
Years later, after I graduated from school, she gave me a plaque that has a poem on it. And it's got a woman who is stepping out into darkness. And it says, and I'm going to read this, "As you walk to the edge of all the light you have known, and you must take a step step into the darkness of the unknown, you must believe that one of two things will happen. There will be something solid for you to stand upon, or you will be taught how to fly. So there was a moment in my life in 2006 and everything shifted. Everything changed. It was at a Santa party that my parents held at their house in Pangburn. The house was full and the crowd was chaos. There were kids running around everywhere, people coming in and out. And in the middle of all that, I met her. She's sitting right back there in the back of the room. She was 3 years old. At the time, her name was Destiny, a foster kid under the care of my dad's assistant, who we now affectionately call Mimi. And I knew. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how it would work out, but I knew. That Monday morning, I got on the phone and I got to work, and I decided that that child was my child. And I started the paperwork, I started making the calls, I started doing the follow-ups, and I did everything I could to make that caseworker's job easy. And it worked. The process wasn't simple. They go and they dig into every single little part of your life when you're adopting a kid from the foster care system, and they should. But that wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was what came after. The years that followed, the struggle, the teenage years, too many unanswered questions. If y'all know foster kids, you know. Too many unanswered questions, and some questions that you don't want to know the answers to. Hurt with no way to get it fixed. The moments when you're trying to hold everything together. But through all of that, that little girl back there in the back of the room, she stood strong. She kept going. And somewhere along the way, my destiny became Grace. And that's Grace. She's the strongest person I know. She knows who she is, and she stands in it. She doesn't bend to fit expectations, and now she's a mama, and an excellent one at that. And I'm so proud of the young woman that she has become. And now she's standing in the gap in a whole lot of ways. That's what strength looks like. That's what women do. That's leadership. And that's resilience. The world is not always changed by the people whose names we know. It's changed by people who see something missing and then decide to do something about it. The gap fillers. Claire Barton was a school teacher. When the Civil War broke out, she saw wounded soldiers with no care, no structure, no system. She brought supplies. She organized care. She created order where there was none. And over time, that became the American Red Cross. Joanne Robinson was a professor. She had seen injustice for years. And when Rosa Parks was arrested, that moment could have passed quietly, but instead she stayed up all night long, printing thousands of flyers, and by morning people were organized. That became the Montgomery bus boycott. Women like Septima Poinsett Clark, a teacher who understood something most people overlooked. People weren't being excluded from voting because they didn't care. This sounds familiar. They were being excluded because systems were designed to keep them out. Literacy tests, barriers, rules that looked official but were meant to just shut people out of the system. And instead of accepting that, she built something. She created citizenship schools, places where people could come and learn to read, learn to write, learn how to navigate the system that was too hard and too complicated, so they could claim their rights anyway, despite the system. That's leadership. It's quiet work, it's patient work, but it's work that changed thousands of lives. Women like Katherine Johnson, who walked into rooms where she wasn't expected to be, A black woman, a mathematician, working in a space that did not make room for her. And she stayed. Not because it was easy, not because she was welcome, but because when it came time to do the work, they needed someone who could get it right. She calculated the flight paths that sent astronauts into space and brought them back home safely. Because when that moment came, she was ready and did what was required of her, the work. None of these women waited until they were ready. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait until there was a clear path or a handbook or a guide that told them how to do it. They didn't wait till the path was clear. They saw the gap, and y'all know what they did. They filled it. And it's not just the women, because men who are fierce advocates of women doing the work, that's real important, y'all. My daddy taught me that. He was the first one. He taught me that the only ceilings that there are the ceilings that we put over our own head and our own minds. And I can hear him every single day in my head saying the three phrases he always said: conceive it, believe it, and achieve it.
That's right.
And I believed him. I believed him. My husband also showed me what it looks like in real life to step out. He ran a statewide ballot initiative. A lot of people think he's a big political guy. He didn't know how to do that. He figured that out. He had never done that before. No money, no experience. People said it was impossible. They were probably right. But he did it anyway. You know why? Because he believed. He believed in the power of the people. And he put the power of the people to work. He believed in our democratic process, and I do too. It's what makes us great. He believed in the impossible, and he kept going. He showed up, and hey, we didn't get all the way there, but we got 55,000 signatures in 50 days, and we were only 700 short, and I am proud of that. We got closer than anybody thought we could. But we proved something bigger than what that initiative was. When people stand up together and they build collective power, and I have learned this from the NAACP, then action happens. And people have no choice but to listen. The collective power is the key. It's standing up together in one voice and rising up. And it's time for that right now. Yo, come on, clap. And sometimes you don't step out there because you're guaranteed success. You step out because something needs to be done. There's a gap that needs to be filled. People say what I'm doing right now, running as a statewide race as a Democrat, they say it's impossible. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Neither do I.
Amen. Because I have been all over the state in rooms like this. I've seen people like us in these rooms, people who don't wait, people who show up, people who do the work when nobody is watching. That's how things change. I saw a gap. I thought, I got the skills, I can fill that gap. So I stepped up. Now, it's your turn. It's all of our turn. Whatever edge you're standing on, and I'll go back to that painting, that little thing that my mama gave me. Whatever edge you're standing on, whatever gap you see, whatever call you've been hearing that's nudging on you, and I know some of you got some nudges because I've talked to you about it. Don't wait. Answer that call. There's never been a more important time than now to have women in leadership all over this state and all over this country. And there is so much in this room. There is power in this room. And it's time that we take it out and amplify it. So stand up, take the step, because when you do, I can promise you, you can trust this, that you will either be given solid ground to stand upon, or you will be taught to fly.